I knew you back in the college days, bro. You were the backbone of like the Flame Sports Network. I mean, you did it all. You were the sports director at the Light FM, and you pretty much knew what's going on in sports. I mean, you know like what's going to happen, the future coaches, and you probably the best person to talk to right now for Liberty Sports, I would say.
Yeah, I appreciate that all, Santiago. Here's the interesting thing about this. We hear so much about Title IX, and this is all this decision is based on. If you have heard that the wrestling decision was based strictly upon finances, that's not the truth. The reason why Liberty has had a history of battling with Title IX, and the way that it works is, and I'll give you basically, what the definition is of Title IX, because it's one of those things that kind of it makes it interesting. Basically, it goes all the way back to like the history of 1964 Civil Rights Act, which was originally what it was called, and basically it was to end discrimination based on race, color, or national origin, and that was to help energize the women's rights movement, and that was one of the things that kind of came into play. And where it comes into now is basically, in far as sports, and the way that it works is they have what's called a three-pronged test of compliance. Basically, prong one is providing athletic participation opportunities that are substantially proportionate to the student enrollment. And we'll get into this. That's kind of the route that Liberty has chosen to go. Prong two is to demonstrate a continual expansion of athletic opportunities for the unrepresented sex, or prong three is full and effective accommodation of the interest and ability of the underrepresented sex. So what Liberty has done here is, you may know, and what we've seen the trend over the last couple of years, and really kind of goes back, I guess, to the mid-2000s. Liberty was kind of a school that was set up to where they were pretty close in the male to female student body ratio. And recently it's gone from where it was half and half to where now all of a sudden the more applications that have come in and the more students that have been accepted there's more women than there's men. Right now it's about 52 to 48, and recently Chancellor Jerod Jr. talking with the board as this was all kind of coming together was that they don't see this growth stopping. They feel like soon, according to the numbers that they've got, that it's going to jump from 54 to 46. Well, since you have a ratio, Santiago, of where there are more females than males, the way that the athletic department is set up with 20 current sports, the ratio that they had was that there were more males than there were females. Well, as your ratio kind of tilts and goes the other way, that's a big problem. If you have more females in the student body, they're getting less opportunities to play Division I athletics because there's more males with their sports and how many opportunities they have. That becomes a problem, and this is where that they have had the problem lie over the last several years. And what Liberty has done to kind of combat that is you've seen them add more sports. You've seen over the last couple of years where they've added swimming, they've added women's lacrosse, and they're beginning field hockey in the upcoming season. Well, they've added all of those to try to give more females opportunities, and that's given them more scholarships, it's given them more places to be able to participate. That starts to get expensive when you continue to add a women's sport. Well, you got to think about revenue, you've got to think about facilities, and how big do you want your athletic department to be? How many sports do you want to sponsor? So that's really kind of where all this stems from, is that as the student body goes more towards the female ratio, you have to then have, when you already have a male ratio over females that's more dominated in the athletic department, well, now all of a sudden you've got to correct that. And it basically boiled down to, did the athletic department want to continue to get bigger and bigger and bigger, and you continue to add, on the women's side, where if you cut a sport like wrestling, which has 39 participants on its roster, which is quite a few. Obviously football has the most, but you look at other sports like men's basketball, that's a lot smaller. That's not something that when they make money off of and they have a fewer amount of participants, they really have to look at. But with wrestling not making as much money, not being a real revenue sport, but the big thing with that is just having 39 participants. That's one that they felt, you know what, it's something we really don't want to do, but when you're looking at the numbers game, it allows them to take a nice little chunk and make it equal, and that's why they choose to go with prong one, which, once again, we'll restate prong one, the athletic participation opportunities that are substantially proportionate to the student enrollment, and as your female enrollment is higher, you had to make more for females, or you had to cut some from the male, and that's what they chose to do.
Now, if they had to choose another sport other than wrestling, what else would it be left? I mean, you have to cut it either, swimming for men? I mean, what other sports out there was the option? I mean, because for men's sports, baseball, basketball, cross country, football, golf, soccer, tennis, track and field, wrestling, and that's pretty much it. And the rest is club sports. So pretty much, it had to be wrestling. Wrestling is a new program.
And club sports don't come into play because they're not getting funding. That's why wrestling is going to a club sport, because there's no funding, there's no scholarships, none of that stuff. That club sport is just basically like you see with hockey. Hockey, the guys have to pay. They have to play to be able to participate. With wrestling, as it currently was up until 10 days ago, that was something that, unless you were maybe like a walk-on or someone that just didn't get offered a scholarship, but was they felt was good enough to make the team, maybe on the practice squad. That is just different than what we've seen with club teams.